There is something extraordinary about the soul that feels deeply. In a world often driven by speed, performance, and surface-level interaction, the one who pauses to feel, truly feel, is not weak or broken, but awake in a way most people are not. This kind of soul notices what others miss, a subtle shift in someone's voice, the pain behind a smile, the beauty in a quiet morning. These are not just passing moments. They're experienced deeply, sometimes so deeply it becomes overwhelming. And while others may call this sensitivity too much, it is, in truth, one of the clearest signs that your soul is special. To feel deeply is to carry an inner world that is vast and alive. You are not numb to the human experience. You don't push things away quickly just to keep moving forward. You pause, you absorb, you let things affect you. And yes, this can be exhausting, but it is also the very thing that connects you to the invisible threads that run through all of life. It is empathy in its purest form, not something you manufacture, but something that arises naturally because you cannot help but feel what others feel. This depth can often make you feel misunderstood. You may have grown up hearing things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You need to toughen up." These statements were never true, only a reflection of how most people struggle to sit with depth. They've built walls to protect themselves from feeling too much, while you were born without those walls. Or, perhaps, you chose to take them down. Either way, your openness allows you to walk through the world with a rawness that few can relate to, but many are unknowingly drawn to. You are the one people come to when they need to be heard, really heard. Not just listened to, but seen. Others sense, often unconsciously, that you can hold space for emotions too heavy for them to carry alone. Your ability to feel so deeply becomes a sanctuary for others, a quiet invitation to be real, even if just for a moment. And though this can be beautiful, it also carries a weight. You might absorb the pain of others and not know how to release it. You might carry sorrow that doesn't even belong to you, and still you do it because something in you knows it matters. Because your soul doesn't draw lines when it comes to compassion. You may find beauty in things others overlook, the sound of wind through trees, a single line in a poem, the way someone's eyes soften when they talk about someone they love. These things aren't trivial to you, they echo through your spirit. This isn't simply a romantic way of viewing the world, it's a different way of existing. You are attuned not only to what is said, but what is unsaid. Not only to what is seen, but what is felt. There is a cost to this kind of depth. When you feel everything, you also feel pain that others can numb themselves to. You might find it difficult to move through the world without becoming overwhelmed. Crowds, conflict, cruelty. These things can shake you to your core. But even this is not a weakness. It's a reflection of your inner sensitivity, your sacred attunement to the suffering of others. It means your soul is not hardened. You have not gone numb to injustice or to beauty. You are still open, still available, still alive in ways others may have forgotten. It's easy to feel like something is wrong with you when you feel so much more than those around you. When you cry more easily, love more deeply, and hurt more often. But this is not dysfunction. It is the mark of someone whose inner life is active, whose soul has not closed itself to the truth of being human. You don't just exist, you experience. And in a world full of people running from themselves, that is rare. You are here to experience life with your whole being. To feel is to participate fully in what it means to be alive. It is to honor the reality that joy and sorrow are not separate, that to love deeply is to also grieve deeply, and that this contrast is not a flaw in the human experience, it is its essence. You were not meant to flatten yourself to fit into a world that fears feeling. You were meant to remind that world what it means to be real. You may feel alone in this, but you are not. There are others who carry the same kind of depth, who recognize in you the quiet fire of a soul that refuses to go numb. And when you do find them, it won't take long to recognize each other. Because when two deep souls meet, words become secondary. There is only resonance. And that too is something most will never understand. So when you feel like your emotions are too much, when the world tells you to be stronger, colder, quieter, remember this: your depth is not a burden. It is your brilliance. Solitude has a way of revealing truths that the noise of the world keeps hidden. For a special soul, being alone is not about isolation or rejection. It is a necessary retreat into the quiet corners of one's inner world. While many fear being alone, feeling discomfort when the distractions fade and the silence creeps in, the soul that is attuned to something deeper finds in solitude a rare kind of sanctuary. It becomes a space for renewal, for reflection, for truth to rise to the surface. And this isn't just a preference, it's a calling. The soul that seeks solitude isn't running from the world, but rather running towards something more essential, more honest. The chaos of daily life, the superficial chatter, the endless roles we're expected to play, all of it can feel exhausting to someone who sees through the surface. This kind of soul doesn't need constant stimulation to feel alive. In fact, they often feel most alive in stillness. Alone with their thoughts, they're able to listen to the quiet whisperings of intuition, the subtle movements of spirit, the emotions that were muffled in the crowd. To others, this need for solitude might appear strange or distant. People may wonder why you retreat, why you need time away, why you sometimes seem content in your own world. But the truth is, your world isn't empty, it's rich. When you're alone, you aren't disconnected, you're reconnecting with yourself, with your purpose, and with the deeper currents of life that are so often drowned out by noise. You are gathering pieces of yourself that get scattered in the busyness of everyday interactions. And far from being lonely, this solitude becomes an act of soul preservation, even a sacred practice. Those with special souls often feel things more deeply, and because of that they need space to process, to integrate, to rest. The world moves fast, and people expect immediate responses, constant availability. But a soul like yours understands that clarity doesn't always come quickly. Insight takes time, healing takes space, wisdom arises not from speed but from stillness. You know that if you're always reacting, always engaging, you risk becoming disconnected from what truly matters. So you step away, not to disappear, but to return to yourself. There is also something beautifully humbling about spending time alone. In solitude, the masks fall away. You're no longer performing. You're no longer trying to be understood. You're just being raw, unfiltered, and whole. And in that state, you come face to face with who you really are, beneath all the expectations and identities the world places on you. This honesty can be uncomfortable at first, even painful, but for the special soul, it is necessary. Because the deeper you know yourself, the more aligned your life becomes. The more clearly you see your path, your truth, and your place in the world. You might also notice that your most profound ideas, your clearest insights, and your deepest peace come not in conversation, but in solitude. It's in those moments when no one is around, when the distractions fade, and you're fully present with yourself, that the answers begin to emerge. Not from logic, but from inner knowing. This is the space where your intuition speaks loudest, where your creativity flows freely, and where you reconnect with the essence of who you are. Of course, solitude isn't always easy. There are times when it can feel heavy, even lonely. You may wonder if you're missing out, or if your quiet path is taking you further away from others. But what you're truly doing is creating a home within yourself, a place that doesn't disappear when others leave, a place that doesn't crumble in the absence of external validation. That kind of self-containment, that quiet power, is rare. It's what gives you resilience, vision, and clarity. The soul that embraces solitude walks a different path, not necessarily better, but deeper. And that depth is what allows you to carry wisdom others often seek from the outside. You become a mirror for others, not by trying to be, but simply by being fully yourself. In your silence, you reflect truth. In your solitude, you emanate presence. And in your groundedness, you give permission for others to slow down and feel what they've been avoiding. So if you've ever wondered why you're drawn to being alone, why crowds tire you, why you crave quiet more than noise, understand this. It's not a flaw, it's a sign. It means your soul is special. It means you're wired for depth, for insight, for the kind of inner richness the world often forgets to value. Sometimes the most profound connection we can experience is the one we build with ourselves in silence. There is something quietly persistent within the special soul, a sense that life carries a deeper meaning, even when that meaning can't be fully grasped or explained. It's not something learned or imposed, it's something that's always been there, like a whisper that echoes just beneath the surface of everyday experience. While others may move through life fixated on achievement, status, or routine, you've likely felt for as long as you can remember that there's more, something unseen but profoundly real, waiting just beyond the visible. This subtle pull toward the unseen isn't a distraction or a phase. It's the signature of a soul that is awake to the mystery of existence. You may find yourself contemplating questions others avoid, questions about purpose, destiny, the nature of love, suffering, death, and consciousness. These aren't casual curiosities for you, they are anchors. They shape how you see the world, how you connect with people, and how you move through your own path. Even in your quietest moments, you feel the presence of something greater, a kind of sacred order that you may not be able to define, but which you feel with unwavering certainty. This feeling can make it hard to relate to the everyday conversations that skim the surface. You may find yourself becoming quiet in rooms full of noise, not out of shyness, but because what's being discussed doesn't resonate with you. The small talk, the pretense, the masks people wear to survive the demands of the world, they feel hollow compared to the richness of what you're attuned to. And yet, this doesn't make you better than others. It simply means you are tuned into a different frequency, one that requires depth, presence, and honesty. You might not always be able to articulate what it is you're sensing. You may not have words for the profound intuitions that arise during a walk alone, or the feeling of timelessness when you're present in a meaningful moment. But your soul feels it. It always has. This inner knowing often clashes with the fast-paced, logic-driven world that demands clear explanations and linear thinking. But for you, meaning is not always logical. It is often symbolic. It lives in metaphor, emotion, and archetype. You feel truth in stories, in dreams, in silence. And that is not confusion, it is wisdom in its oldest form. You may be drawn to art, to nature, to poetry, not because they entertain you, but because they reflect what your soul already knows. You find solace in these things because they speak a language deeper than words, a language that mirrors the interior world you carry. You don't need everything to be explained. You don't crave certainty the way others do. You understand that truth is often felt before it is ever understood. People may misunderstand this part of you. They may think you're too serious, too reflective, too spiritual, too abstract. But what they don't see is that this sensitivity to meaning is what gives your life richness. It's what makes your joys more radiant, your sorrows more profound, your relationships more sacred. It's what makes you listen when others speak, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. Because when someone shares their truth, no matter how fragile, something in you honors that exchange as sacred. This longing for deeper meaning can make the world feel lonely at times. You may feel like an outsider, as though you were dropped into a world that runs on a rhythm you cannot quite dance to. But this sense of not quite fitting in is not a flaw. It's a reflection of your soul's alignment with something more timeless, more enduring. You aren't here to conform. You're here to remember, to remind others, simply by the way you live and the way you see, that there is more to this life than meets the eye. There may be days when this inner calling feels like a burden, when you feel disconnected from others, from systems, from expectations that don't align with your deeper truth. But those are the moments that call you inward, that push you closer to the center of your own being. Because meaning is not always found in the outer world, it is often discovered in the quiet space within, where you are able to see clearly, feel deeply, and remember who you really are. And even though you may walk this path quietly, know this: your presence matters. The way you see, the way you care, the way you sense what others overlook, it all matters. In a world that often forgets its soul, yours serves as a reminder of what is real, what is eternal, and what is worth remembering. To sense the deeper meaning in life is not a distraction from the world, it is the beginning of truly living in it. Some souls seem to arrive in this world with a quiet mission, a natural inclination to help, to comfort, to heal. They don't announce themselves, they don't wear labels, and they often go unnoticed in their efforts. But their impact is felt in small, powerful ways, in the gentle presence they offer, the words they speak at just the right moment, the way they intuitively know when someone is hurting, even when that pain is well hidden. If you find yourself drawn to support others, even when no one asks you to, even when it takes something from you, that is not just kindness, it is the mark of a special soul. This deep desire to help does not come from ego. It's not about being the savior or being recognized for your efforts. It's something that moves through you, almost like a reflex. You see someone in pain, and without thinking, you lean in. You offer your time, your energy, sometimes your silence. You don't ask for anything in return, not because you don't need support yourself, but because there is something inside you that is wired for compassion. It's not performative, it's part of who you are. People often feel safe with you, even if they don't understand why. There is something in your presence that signals permission to be vulnerable, to let down the mask, to feel what's real. And because you listen without judgment, because you hold others with tenderness rather than solutions, they come to you. Over time, you may find yourself carrying the emotions of those around you. Their pain becomes your concern. Their struggle something you feel responsible for, not because anyone demanded it, but because your heart couldn't stand by and watch someone suffer without trying to ease it in some way. But with this gift comes a quiet struggle. When you give so much to others, especially over and over without being replenished, it can leave you depleted. Your energy, your light, your emotional reserves, they're not infinite. And yet, the world often treats those who give the most as if they have no limits. You may feel guilty when you need rest. You may feel selfish for saying no. You may ignore your own pain because someone else's feels more urgent. This is where the special soul must learn the most difficult lesson of all: to give without abandoning oneself. To be someone who heals doesn't mean to lose yourself in the process. Your compassion is powerful, but it is not sustainable if you don't learn to direct some of it inward. There is no nobility in emptying yourself completely. The soul that is here to uplift others must also be cared for, nurtured, restored, and held. Because what you offer is not only valuable, it is sacred. And to protect it is not selfish, it is wise. You may notice that your sensitivity to others' emotions allows you to say exactly what they needed to hear, or to sense when someone is struggling even when they pretend everything is fine. These aren't coincidences. They are signs of your intuitive connection to the emotional world. It's not that you try to fix others. You simply reflect something back to them that they had forgotten, that they matter, that they are not alone, that someone sees them without needing them to be anything more. This ability to hold others in their pain without fear or discomfort is rare. It's a kind of emotional courage, a capacity to witness suffering without turning away. Most people avoid it, but you somehow lean in. Even when you're hurting, you show up. Even when it costs you time, sleep, or emotional peace, you're there. And that quiet commitment to love, to understand, to offer warmth, transforms people. They may not always tell you, but they remember. They carry your words, your energy, your kindness with them long after the moment has passed. But still, you must remember, you are not responsible for healing the entire world. You are not here to carry everyone. You are a vessel, not a reservoir. And if you don't fill yourself, you will eventually run dry. The soul that is meant to bring light into darkness must also step into the light themselves, not out of indulgence, but out of necessity. Because your ability to help others comes from your own groundedness, your own peace. You cannot offer what you do not possess. So, if you often find yourself giving, helping, guiding, even when no one sees you, even when you wonder if it matters, know this: it matters more than you think. The love you give, the safety you create, the space you hold, it changes people. And that is not a small thing. To be the kind of person who brings healing simply by being themselves is the clearest sign of a soul that is already whole. Pain has a way of becoming a hidden teacher. For many, it arrives uninvited and unwelcome through loss, rejection, betrayal, or deep isolation. But for a soul that is special, pain doesn't simply pass through like a storm. It shapes you. It rewires how you feel, how you see the world, and how you show up in it. Not in a way that breaks you permanently, but in a way that transforms you. Slowly, you carry scars that are not just reminders of suffering, but symbols of survival, proof that something in you is stronger than what tried to destroy you. There are moments in life that split us open, when the world we knew collapses, or when we're forced to face something unbearable without any promise that it will ever make sense. During these times, the soul is tested, not in the way of endurance alone, but in the way of meaning. Pain, especially the kind that isolates, becomes a mirror. It reflects not only our vulnerabilities, but also our deepest truths. If you've known profound loneliness or heartbreak that made your chest physically ache, or moments where it felt like no one could possibly understand the weight you were carrying, then you know what it means to descend into the darkness and come out with new eyes. What many don't realize is that the most special souls often come from the deepest wounds, not because they are damaged, but because they are forged. The fire didn't consume them, it refined them. Your empathy was born in the places where you were not met with understanding. Your gentleness came from knowing what it feels like to be handled harshly. Your capacity to see others in their pain grew because you spent time there yourself, alone, without answers, without applause. And yet, you didn't become bitter. You didn't shut down. You turned inward. You sat with the ache. And in time, something beautiful began to take shape inside you. This is not a romanticized version of pain. It's not a justification for suffering. But the truth remains, many people who carry light have walked through long nights. Their wisdom was not handed to them. It was earned, in silence, in sorrow, and often in solitude. The soul becomes special, not by avoiding hardship, but by remaining soft through it. And that softness, that refusal to become hardened or numb, becomes your gift. It's not uncommon for people who've experienced great pain to also be the ones others turn to when they're struggling. You've been in those depths, so you don't flinch when someone else falls apart. You don't try to fix them with cliches or distractions. You sit beside them. You listen in a way that makes them feel real. You know that healing doesn't come from being told it will all be okay. It comes from being seen exactly where you are, and that's what you offer. Because you know how powerful it was when someone did that for you, or how you longed for someone to do so when no one could. Often, people try to run from their past. They want to forget the hard chapters, erase the memories that hurt. But you, in your quiet strength, have chosen something different. You carry your past, not as a chain, but as a compass. You've allowed your pain to deepen your character, to open your heart wider rather than close it off. And while that makes you more vulnerable, it also makes you more real, more human, more alive. And still there are days when the old wounds ache. Healing is not a straight path. It spirals, it surprises, it repeats. But with every return, you understand a little more. You carry yourself with a little more grace, and you recognize that your wounds, while painful, opened a space in you where love can now live more freely. There's a quiet power in this, to have been broken and to choose to heal anyway, to not just survive, but to grow deeper, kinder, and more intuitive. You don't wear your pain as a badge. You don't need to. It's in the way you move through life, in the way you make space for others, in the way you forgive without forgetting, and in the way you hold space for beauty and sorrow at the same time. If you've experienced pain that left you forever changed, and you still choose love, still choose to give, still choose to feel, then your soul is not only special, it is rare. Because the ones who've been through the fire and still carry water for others are the ones who remind the world what healing truly looks like. There's a certain kind of person who moves through the world always feeling slightly out of place, like they're dancing to a rhythm no one else hears. You may have felt this yourself, that quiet sense that you don't quite fit in. You play the roles, you meet expectations, you smile when expected, but underneath it all, there's a sense of distance, of being slightly separate from the world around you. And yet, despite that feeling of misalignment, there's also a strong inner knowing that you are here for a reason, that your presence matters, even if you haven't fully understood why. This quiet dissonance isn't a flaw or a sign of failure to connect. It's often the very signature of a soul that carries something rare. When your essence doesn't match the tempo of the external world, it can feel lonely. But that's often because your soul is rooted in something deeper, something timeless. You may not relate to what most people chase. You may not feel fulfilled by competition, attention, or the accumulation of things. What moves others might leave you empty, and what stirs your spirit, meaning, truth, connection, mystery, may seem strange or unnecessary to those around you. You may wonder if there's something wrong with you for always feeling like the outsider, for not quite syncing with the rhythm of your environment. But the truth is, not fitting in can be the clearest sign that you're not meant to conform. You're meant to remember. Remember what most have forgotten. You carry something in your spirit that doesn't just accept the world as it is, it questions it. You look beyond what's presented and ask, what's real? And because of this, your journey may be lonelier, but it is also more aligned with something ancient, something essential. There's a kind of courage required to continue walking through life with this quiet inner tension, to exist in a world that often prizes conformity, and yet remain true to what is authentic in you. It's not easy. You may have tried at different points to mold yourself into something more acceptable. Maybe you learned to silence your questions, to dull your insights, to pretend the superficial things mattered to you. But no matter how well you disguised it, the deeper truth inside you never disappeared. It waits, it watches, and eventually it rises again, asking to be lived out fully. That feeling of not belonging is often the soul's way of calling you home, not to a place but to yourself. The world may not fully understand you, but that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to embody something that most have lost touch with. And that means there will be times when you feel alone, not because you are unworthy of connection, but because true resonance is rare. It comes not through numbers, but through depth. One genuine connection, one moment of recognition, can matter more than years of surface-level acceptance. And still, you stay open. You walk with a tender heart even when you're not met with the same. That is strength. That is grace. To not fit in and still choose to offer your truth, to share your light, to love in a world that often misunderstands what love even means. That's not weakness. its purpose. It's a quiet revolution of the spirit. People may not always recognize your gift. They may see your sensitivity as fragility, your introspection as aloofness, your honesty as discomfort. But these are not things you need to change. They are the exact qualities that make your presence a blessing to this world. You may not belong in the spaces that value noise over meaning, image over truth, or speed over depth. But you do belong somewhere, and the moment you stop trying to fit in, you begin to find it. The feeling that you're here for a reason, even if you can't name it yet, is not a fantasy. It's the soul remembering its promise. It's the quiet echo of a truth you've known since you were very young, that you came here not to follow but to guide, to witness, to soften, to awaken. You may never get the applause, you may never be fully seen by the masses, but your presence will shift something in the people who matter, and your energy will leave a quiet imprint on the spaces you move through. So if you feel like you don't belong in the world as it is, it may be because you're here to help build the one that is yet to come. If this message resonates with you, if you've felt that quiet pull, that deep sense that you're different for a reason, then don't ignore it. Lean into it. Trust the wisdom within you. Start honoring the parts of yourself you've been taught to hide. Begin living from your depth, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. And know this, the world needs souls like yours, awake, tender, brave enough to stay true in a world that often rewards the opposite. So take one small step today, whether it's choosing solitude without guilt, speaking your truth without apology, or creating space to reconnect with what truly matters. Do it, not because the world sees you, but because your soul does. And that's where everything begins. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more videos just like this. Thank you.